We started last week speaking about the Daf Yomi and how Rav Meir pushed it and was the driving force, not just in creating the idea, but promulgating the idea and publicizing the idea and giving Torah for the idea and Rayonot for the idea. And that was a tremendous, inspired and perspiring effort to make Daf Yomi what it was. Let's just go over a little bit of the history. When did he introduce this? It was in fact in the Knesset Gedola, the Agudas Yisrael, that world organization, which Rav Meir was such a force in Poland. As we spoke about it, that led him to getting into the Sem, which was the Polish parliament, etc., as a member of Aguda. So they had a great Knesset with many Gedolim. The Chavetz Chaim was there, Chorkov Rebbe was there, Ger Rebbe was there in 1923. Altogether, there were 600 delegates. This is August 15th, the 3rd of Elul, 5683 or 1923 Liminyanam. And there he introduced the idea. And they then said that the first day was going to be on Rosh Hashanah of that year. This is the 3rd of Elul, so some 25 or 6 days going forward. Now listen to this. I know this is well known. It should be. His sister lived in far-off northern Romania, Bukovina, I think that's how you say it, and knew nothing whatever his activities. And he says, she writes him, on the night of Rosh Hashanah, I had a dream. This is an exact quote how it's brought. I saw you in Shemayim, surrounded by a great mass of angels with striking figures, all radiant as the rakia, the firmament. And you were standing amongst them. And your face was a light like the sun, like Kishemish Guraso, your sun was like the sun, your face, was like the sun in its full strength. And they were all smiling to you as they thanked you and they rejoiced with you very, very greatly. Please, dearest brother, let me know what the dream means. She didn't know. She didn't realize what he had done. Ba'aretz u'b'shamayim. Amazing. And this was adopted by all the delegates, all 600 delegates said we're going to do it, led by the Gdolim. And it's interesting, also not well known, was that at a later point in his life he was reflected, and he said that his original plan was, I wanted to present the Knesset Gedolah as a program only for the young. I never dreamed that the Great Assembly would adopt it as a resolution for the elders of our people as well. But when I started to explain the great value of the program, then came the overwhelming surprise. It was unanimously agreed that the plan was good for all the Jews. So it sounds like, if I understood this paragraph, that was again the exact quote, amazing. And he says, fortunate is the generation in which the adults listen to the young ones. I think he meant that, as we said, he was only 37 at the time, and the Gedolim of the generation adopted it. So he was coming, it sounds like, from this for a plan for the youth. Now here I want to say tremendous yesod, which I've thought about a lot recently, and I think everybody can find it in life, and everybody should continue finding it in life. Good ideas breed good ideas. But on the way a person wants to go, Hashem will lead you. But not even if we go into that spiritual idea, a good idea breeds a good idea. Mitzvah garas mitzvah. A very central part in life is for us to continue being active, to come up with good ideas, openings, etc. When you're thinking like that, you're looking like that, so things come out. You gotta keep your feet moving and come up with something. You see something in the community which needs to be worked on. Start with something small, lead something big. I happen to tell you, I spoke to, I believe his name is Reb Chaim Mintz today. The head of Ura visited our yeshiva, Chappelle's, and I asked him, how did Ura start? And he said, well, actually it's pretty simple. He was learning a certain part of Chovos HaLevavos, which related to Kiruv, and he spoke to his Talmidim. He's the mashgiach of the Staten Island yeshiva. And he said to them, we can be Makar people, and they said, you can't be Makar people don't want to hear, etc., back forth. And then he wanted to prove his Talmidim that they were wrong, so he knocked on some doors, and he convinced some people to go to yeshiva, and that's how it started. Amazing. And now he has a world organization in which I spoke to maybe 12 to 15 members who would come from America to be mechazik their efforts here in Eretz Yisrael and check out the different yeshivas. A whole organization came without a big plan, without a big tochnit, from doing something in the right direction. Just another dogma, but it's amazing. And one can see in his life all the time. You push, you do something, and then something else opens up. I'm sure Lahabdil works like that in the business world also. You make some connections, you don't know where it's going to go. We could say in a spiritual way, you give a room for the bracha to be chal, and then Hashem will finish it. I think it's true on a spiritual level, but I think it's true on a practical level also. We point our arrows in the right direction. You go in good things, you get to things that are Meir's. Really, the original plan for the Daf Yomi, as he seemed to say in his own words, was for the youth, and then everybody adopted it for everybody, and there you go. Let's talk a little bit, just for a moment longer, about some of the effects of the Daf Yomi. Already, it seems like it caught like wildfire. It was wildly successful, and the situation had been that regular Balabatim, working people in Poland, hadn't been learning Gemara anymore, and this, of course, put a ruach chadash, a new ruach in, and that ad kedei kach that it was just like today's people write the parsha, shlishi leparshas Yisro. So people would write. I don't know if anybody does that anymore, but then in Poland, people would write the daf yomi on their letters, the day of the daf. Right? Something else which is very important. The same theory we said about good things breed good things. Listen to this. It says that people started with the whole Yomi thinking. This was an outgrowth. This was the whole Yomi thinking. Mishnah Yomi, Nach Yomi, Musar Yomi, etc. And those are short-term effects, of course. On a long-term effect, here we are, however many cycles. I think we're in the 14th cycle now. So many, I've heard of stories of people rachak from Torah that was very far from Talmud Torah, and Daf Yomi caught their eye, and they started with it, etc. Now we have Rabbanim involved in Daf Yomi, and all different types of things. It gave, as we mentioned last week, it gave a seder, it gave his chayvus, it gave responsibility, it gave an orderliness, it gave a goal, etc. Many, many things which obviously spoke, and it gave Torah and Gemara to people, and that's just an amazing thing. We're going to say one more point in our next session.